Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Consultant Proficiency Resources, otherwise known as CPR LLC Moral Leadership Coaching Tidbit. I'm Cheryl, and I'm the managing partner and founder of CPR LLC, and thank you so much for joining us. If this is your first time on this platform, we do a hearty welcome to you. Thank you so much for joining us, and if you're returning, thank you for your commitment to ensuring that you have developed and you're moving in the right direction in evolving into a moral and ethical leader. So this is for the new individuals. If you're new to this side, just a little bit of an overview. CPR LLC is committed to small businesses. One of our services include coaching, one-on-one coaching. And what we have managed to do was to break down the 1 hour or 1 hour and 30-minute coaching to 15 to 30 minutes, totally free of charge. If you to do the work, apply the techniques that's coming from grad school and postdoctoral training, you can certainly evolve into a moral, ethical leader. If you're on your faith walk, if you're an educator, if you're a minority woman-owned business, this is the platform for you. So be sure to hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. We attempt to upload at least once a week. Understand that this platform is designed to be a building block platform. It must be used in sequential order. So if you did not view episode number 1, please ensure that you do so. Having said that, let's get into this topic. I'm excited about it. It's called sabotage. Some people will call it bleeding. And according to the Small Business Administration, I am going to share my screen with you. Voila. Here are some stats. If you go to my CPR LLC website, I've cited right on the homepage in terms of the stats coming from the Small Business Administration. A study was done in 2017, and based on the study, 25% of firms survive up to 15 years in business. 33% survive the first 10 years. 50% survive about 5 years of business. 66% of small businesses will survive their first 2 years, and 70% make it beyond the first year of business. So the data is gloomy, right? 70% of small businesses don't even make it their first year. Now, there are a lot of issues as a result of it. It could be external. Some of it can be internal, including ineffective leadership, poor leadership that results in a bullying culture or a toxic or negative culture where there's no creativity or innovation. So this is some serious stuff. So let's go back into, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we're going to go back to our whiteboard. Again, if you did not see intro number 1, please go back, pause this video, go back to episode number 1 before continuing. If you're part of that journey from the intro and episode 1, then come along for the ride. So what we have done, we have listed the 10 attributes. You've done your self-reflection. You've plotted the way I've shown you in episode 1. And today, in order to prevent the bleeding or the sabotaging of your business, I call it self-sabotage because it's your business that it's happening to, no one else's. We want to get rid of the weaknesses and the threats. The attributes that you have plotted into these boxes, you must move them to the strength and opportunity box. And just moving it, just taking the eraser and writing it over here is not the answer, right? Clearly it's not. We have to do the work. It's about the work. Episode number 1, we spoke about James 2 that talks about faith without works. You have to do the work, right? You took your passion and your purpose, and I'm sure a lot of sweat and tears. Now that you're here, you have to take the necessary steps so that you do not become a statistic. And it all starts with your leadership style. How are you leading? You're on the driver's seat. How are you leading your business? Okay, so today's session is to show you how to evolve. Bad habits were not born overnight. It's because we practiced it, unfortunately, day in and day out. The good news is that good habits, some may have been born with great habits, but in order to improve your habits, you also have to practice it day in and day out. Just like attempting to be part of an orchestra, you have to practice playing your clarinet, your trumpet, your drums, day in and day out. To perfect bike riding, you have to practice it day in and day out. To perfect your driving skills, you have to practice it day in and day out. To develop more positive and evolve into a moral and ethical leader, it requires you to practice the attributes day in and day out. Having said that, I'm going to show you how. That's the highlight of today's session. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go into this website. It's called Merriam-Webster website. I suggest you bookmark or use it as a favorite. It will really help. If English is a second language, or even if English is your primary language, owning a business is important that you're able to communicate effectively, both verbally and non-verbally, and also in your writing. So just having this as a favorite, you could play games and do exercises and quizzes. It really would help enhance your vocabulary skills. Having said that, let's consider what we're going to do with this Merriam-Webster online dictionary to practice day in and day out, so we can change our board, moving any weakness and threat into the strength and opportunity column. The first word I wanted to put in is humility. So what you want to do is to go to the page, you type in humility, then you click on the search. It's going to bring up the word humility. It's going to give you the part of speech that's noun. It's going to say as in meekness. And if you scroll further down, it says the absence of any feelings of being better than others. So you don't think you're better than anyone else. Below is a series of words, synonyms, and similar words aligned with the word humility. Okay, such as humbleness, demureness, modesty, quietness, submissiveness, compliance, timidness, bashfulness, lowliness, directness, deference. You have reserve, shyness, mousiness, that's cute, sheepishness, reservedness. Those are some words that are synonyms or similar words of the word humility. And if you scroll further down, you have what you call the antonyms, or the opposite of the word humility. Those words include arrogance, pride, haughtiness, attitude, egoism, conceit, superiority, assumption, right? And the words a lot less. So if you did your SWOT analysis and we just picked a random attribute, so we went with the word humility. If the word humility was found in your threat or your weakness box, you want to do this exercise by typing it in, seeing what the words mean, because we know words change. So it's important to have an objective, up-to-date definition of the words, so you will know exactly what you're referencing. Seeing what the opposite of humility is, because it is in your threat box. So if you did that, you're saying that if you're not humble, and if humility is not in your strength or opportunity box, you placed it in your weakness or threat box, you are saying, because it's your self-reflection, that you're prideful, you're arrogant, you have an attitude, you're conceited. Now, there's one thing, if someone perceived you to be one way, sometimes someone may walk into the room and you may have confidence, and right away you might be perceived that you're conceited or you have an attitude just by presence, but that's not what arrogance and ego means, right? This is something that you consistently do, and majority of times it's because you're trying to compensate for something that's missing from your perspective, right? If that's you, then you want to take it further in terms of getting other coaching wellness sessions that you can then deal with that issue, because ego is a huge problem in a small business. First of all, we are very busy as small business owners. And upon entry, starting a business, you're frequently not only the CEO, but the executive assistant, the IT CIO, the finance, banking, auditors, bookkeeping person. You wear 50 hats. And as you grow, you're expanding your products or service, marketing, etc. And as you bring on your team, there's a reason why you decided to bring on your team, because you saw that there was a place, a position in your business where there are gaps. And as a result of that, you recruited someone to fill that gap, right? So if you have an ego and you have a team, or even working with your contractors or working with your clients, and your clients perceive you have an ego or a chip on your shoulder, it can make them make a decision not to do business with you. And for your employees, this may cause them to not to be as creative and innovative as you may like. So what you want to do is to not display attributes of an egomaniac. You want to display attributes of a humble person, a humble leader, giving everyone an opportunity to have a say. And what you can always do is to go on one of these attributes. And if you hit on one of them, let's just say you want to know what modesty sounds like, or what timidness sounds like, or what ingenuousness sounds like. You click on it, it's a hyperlink. And then that word comes up. It gives you the part of speech. It gives you the definition. Ingenuousness is the quality or state of being simple and sincere, right? So it's about being sincere and simple. Complimentary if you're sincere, right? Being simple and not overcomplicating things, your meetings, not having a motive behind something. Now, in today's society, in American culture specifically, one may equate ego with confidence. I've often heard people who are egomaniacs would say, no, that's my confidence. No, it's not confidence. A humble person, humility is the one that exudes confidence, because they do not have to be the loudest crayon in the box. They do not have to give laud and praises for their credentials, because it will come across one way or the other. They're confident in who they are and whose they are, and therefore they're able to work with their teams more effectively. So that's just one example. We're going to move it forward because the goal is to keep this within 15 to 30 minutes in duration. A second word, let's use the word integrity. And again, if you're new, again, you may want to definitely go back into our introduction video. But understand what we did. We identified, based on research, 10 attributes of a moral leader. Then we were asked to do a self-reflection. We plugged it in the SWOT analysis. So whatever your box says is what you say you are. We're trying to do away with the threats and weaknesses, because we indicated you're bleeding your business. You're sabotaging your business, and you can easily become a statistics of the SBA, Small Business Administration. What we're doing is active work, free of charge, that will allow you to move your attributes that are threats or weaknesses into opportunities and strengths, which will help improve your work environment, work closely with your team, and ultimately it results in higher revenue. So the second word we opted to use, integrity. Part of speech says it's a noun. It says integrity as in morality. Definition, conduct that conforms to the accepted standard of right and wrong. So if there's a right, clearly there's a wrong, right? So that's the whole idea of moral leader. I indicated at the beginning in the introduction, when in doubt, it's about doing the right thing at the right time. And in business, we know it's all about timing, right? So if you do the right thing at the wrong time, you're not going to be successful. You have to do the right thing, which is the moral biblical principle, plus at the right time, which is the business principle for success. And you will be that moral, ethical leader, still being able to make money, still being able to have your clients and work with your staff and have a revenue and be able to sustain your family. If that's what you're looking for, again, stick with us. We're going to show you how. So let's jump back into integrity. Now we know what the definition is. We scroll down. We see the synonyms or similar words. If you want to look into it, we just click the hyperlink and it will get you into that particular word if you're not sure what that means. For example, if we look at scrupulosity, if you click on it, it will give you that the part of speech. It's a noun. And again, it gives you additional words or similar words. Okay, so we're going back to integrity. And then you definitely want to find an antonym. What I'm saying to you is that the antonym of the word integrity or any of the words is who you are if it's in your threats or weakness box. And the way to reverse that or to transition it to the opportunity and the strength box is by doing the opposite, right? If you come in on mornings and you don't say good morning, start saying good morning. You know, if you haven't given your employees a raise in 5 years, give your employee a raise or give them another incentive to motivate them, right? If your employees have seen you making decisions that are underhanded and you're saying you want to be a moral, ethical leader, you now have to show them, not tell them, but show them that you're now operating with integrity. And many times, remember, your employees will model your behavior. If your behavior is that of someone that doesn't have integrity, right, and it's dishonest, regardless of what it is, there's a level of indiscretion. You know, we got this box from the vendor, we're going to send back 20 and keep 5 for ourselves. That's lacking integrity. And if your employees see that, they themselves are going to model that behavior, and they themselves are going to withhold your goods and services when it comes. Because they're modeling your behavior. You are co-signing that it's okay. So what you want to do is to rectify your behavior. Bad habits were not born overnight. It came with practice, unfortunately. And conversely, to obtain good habits, you have to do the work and you have to do it daily as well. So you just have to go contra to what you used to do. One last word we're going to try. Let's try the word sympathy. Let's try the word temperance. I got a couple of emails about the word temperance. Let's try the word temperance. That should be self-control. Let's see what Merriam-Webster says. Temperance. Search. Temperance is a noun, as in temperateness. And it says an avoidance of extremes in one's actions, beliefs, or habits. Actions, right? Controlling your actions, beliefs, or habits. And here's a sentence. My father attributes his ripe old age to temperance in all things, especially eating and drinking. So as you scroll down, you have the synonyms and similar words. So temperance, we said self-control. Here you have the word discipline, sacrifice, rationality, restraint, self-discipline, avoidance, sobriety, self-control, right? And if you further down, we are going to little tongue tied there. You're going to look at the antonyms and the opposite of the word temperance. You have intemperance, excess. So if you don't have control of whatever, if you don't have control of the amount of food you're taking, right? So you have control of, okay, I'm just going to take 1 spoon of rice and some peas so that everyone else can have enough to eat in the workplace, right? But if you don't have temperance, you would take 4 spoonfuls of rice and maybe 4 chicken legs, and to heck with someone else within the department because they're late. They should have been here, right? Even though they went to the restroom, even though they had an emergency call, right? You see the difference? Okay, so we're looking at the opposite. If the opposite is listed here, that more than likely is what you're saying you are under the threat or weakness, either which way. And the one way to, and for me, the only way to begin that process and that change, that evolution, is to start doing the work of someone who would sacrifice, someone who would be disciplined, someone who is reasonable in their discussions. Don't be unreasonable with your employees. If you have a single parent coming to you and they have to make 3 stops to get their kids to school, don't be unreasonable and say, well, you still have to be here at 7 a.m. Make it where that employee clocks in and do or telecommute from 11 to 7, as opposed to you have to make it at this office at this time at 7 a.m. Especially if this is a good employee. She's going to take your ideas and creativity and go to your competitor, right? Or start his or her own business, and that's likely to happen. So the topic behind, the goal behind tidbit number 2 is the message here: stop sabotaging. Stop sabotaging. Okay, some of you might be familiar with the term where your revenue is bleeding, right? That means money is going out of your hands. And what you don't realize is that ineffective leadership, poor leadership, is one way of how money goes out of your hands. So you need to stop sabotaging. You do so by improving your leadership skills. You improve your leadership skills by, in this example, what you've plugged in, you see what's going on with yourself. Your goal is to become a more moral leader, an ethical leader. So what you've decided to do in your participation, you've made that decision, you plot it, you see where the chips fell, and your goal is to transition the negative into more positive. And you do so by doing the work. Once you observe and understand a particular attribute and how it's working against your business so that you don't become a statistic, you roll up your sleeve, you get the job done, and you do it day in and day out. I recommended in episode number 1, you may want to consider looking at your board once a day or the beginning of the week to set your agenda. I do it at the beginning of the week. And the goal is continuing to move forward. If this is your first time, the goal here is to get all 10 blocks into the strengths or opportunities. And then we can make room for more attributes, because a moral and ethical leader have definitely more than 10 attributes. To conclude, I would like to quote Galatians 5:22. And that talks about the fruits of the Spirit, because some of the things that we can do to help us in our walk in looking at the fruits of the Spirit and becoming more moral and ethical leaders is that we do have references. Remember, the formula for CPR LC coaching is biblical principles with business principles. This is the business principle, right? We know what we have to do. Scripture-wise, we also know what we need to do because it's stated in Galatians. So that we're going to Galatians 5:22, fruits of the Spirit, and it says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such, there is no law. And I use verses 22 and 23, amen, because in transitioning from your threats and weaknesses to opportunities and strengths, some of the attributes that you can use along the way is to spread more joy and love and peace within your office and your department. If you see someone is bullying someone, if you see a team is ganging up on someone, don't join them. You're the leader. You put your foot down and ensure that every employee knows that he or she is represented within this department. And if someone doesn't comply, you have to be able to use that power tool, that HR tool of recruiting and firing justly, because a moral leader operates justly. So the fruits of the Spirit are some of the things you could also incorporate as you attempt to move from threats to weaknesses. This works, family. Tested and tried, it works within my own business as I have evolved as well, and some of my coaching clients have evolved. it works, but it takes practice. If you don't do the work, it's not going to work. It's something that in order for you to make a permanent life change and becomes as natural as breathing, you have to do the work day in and day out. Again, a bad habit is adopted over a period of time, doing it day in and day out. So the solution is to adopt good habits and practice it day in and day out. I hope that makes sense. I would like to conclude, since we don't want this to be very long, I would like to conclude with just a little bit of what's going on with CPR LLC to remind you of our coaching, if I can. This is why I have to improve on my technology. And that's the overall point behind CPR Moral Leadership Coaching, is about breaking through traditional leadership styles for your optimum success. We're going to stop here for episode 3, just again to make sure it's under 30 minutes. I hope this was helpful to you. Be sure to send me an email at workclimate@cprllcservices.com. The email will also be in the comments section, description box. And you, of course, leave your comments, but of course, please share, like, and definitely subscribe and come along on this journey. Come along on this journey. I'm so excited for you. The first step is understanding that you need help. And right now, up until December 2022, CPR LLC is also offering a free 30-minute virtual coaching session. So if you're new and you subscribed, you'll get a free 30-minute virtual session with me. So again, free resources to help you operate your business so that you do not become a statistic of the SBA. Apply, do the work, come back again for the next episode, the next application, as you evolve into the moral and ethical leader that I know that you are. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.